All right, let's jump right in. We have the most prolific lesson in how to see as an artist today. This lesson is something that I wished I would have known right up front, because like math for me, math was difficult for me. And the thing that really frustrated me is when you had theorems and equations that you just plug numbers into and get answers. It didn't make sense why it worked. It just worked. I wanted to know how. And with art, I loved drawing enough that I fought through not knowing the how, and I would just painstakingly for decades try to figure out why and how things work together. I would just look at it and it wouldn't look right, and I just keep working it until I figured out relationships between things. But as good as I was, there's always that moment that you actually figure out that your brain is lying to you. So I'm going to challenge you right now. So what I want you to do is draw 3 things. So go ahead and pull out your pencil, your paper if you haven't already. Pause the video, whatever you need to do to get ready. And the 3 items that I'm going to have you draw are, number 1, a tree. So let's draw this tree together. Go ahead and draw it. All right. And it should be quick. You should already be done. So if you're not done, finish up real quick. All right. Here's what you drew. If you like pine trees, you either drew this pine tree, which is showing your, artistic prowess. It's called the cookie cutter. Or you drew this pine tree, where you just kind of scribble and draw the trunk. But most of you, I'm thinking 90% of you, drew a tree like this. And it has a trunk that goes like this. And it's called the broccoli tree. Now, obviously, there you can do, get fancy and try to do things to the bottom of the trunk, or you might actually put some extra branches. But ultimately, this is the tree you probably drew, not these other ones. This is the one, and you tell me, am I right? Yeah, if you drew that tree, you are right along with 90% of people, okay? So this is the mushroom cloud tree. You can go like this, and all of a sudden it's like, it's actually an explosion. Or the broccoli tree, okay? What this is your brain saying, I know what to do. Don't think about it. We've got this. I know what to do. Don't think about it. We got this. And it comes out with this symbol. Now, the next thing I want you to draw is really quick. Just draw a quick eye. An eye. These are the eyes that you are going to draw. One of these 3. And it's going to have a pupil of maybe a different size, and you're going to shade it in, or you're going to shade in just the middle, or whatever. So here's the 3 eyes, and you're going to put on some eyelashes. Am I wrong? I think I am. This is the eye. Just kidding. I'm not wrong. You drew this eye. Just admit it. Admit it. It's okay. All right. The last thing I'm going to have you draw, just really quick, a cup. A cup. Okay. You should be done. Should have just drawn it really quick. And there's only 3 types of cups out there. There's and two of them start like this, and one of them just goes like this. Okay? This one goes down, has a bottom. This one will curve. And these are the really fancy people, okay? And they have that cup. Then this cup, usually the people that draw this cup will put a handle on it. So there's the three types of cups, okay? Anything wrong with those? No, not necessarily. So this cup is the one that you probably drew. This is the most popular cup. And what it is your brain knows that the opening needs to be open so that you can pour stuff in. And that's why this one doesn't even have anything up there. It's just open. All of these are open. Now, here's the thing though. Your brain says, I got this. The table is flat. The table's flat. Table is flat. This one, you're in such a hurry that your brain just goes, just draw it. And sometimes if you're not in a hurry, you'll throw a saucer underneath. So this one is the outlier, but these two cups are usually with a flat base. That flat base is going to give you the opportunity to see why your brain is lying to you. Your brain lies to you all the time. So let's look at this candle really quick. Okay? This candle has the bottom is flat. Okay? But that's because it's exactly flat to the camera. When you look at it from above, and so you can see the opening, what happens to the bottom is it actually curves. So if you can see into the top, the bottom curves too at the similar curvature of the lip. This right here, you can see in, but the bottom's flat, which only happens if it's perfectly flat to the camera where you can't see inside. Okay? So your brain lied to you. And it's obvious that your brain was lying to you on the previous ones. The actual cup would need to look something like this. Opening on the top, sides, and then the curve on the bottom. Also, this is 3D. Well, I have to put the little ish, 3D-ish, because it's not actually 3D. It's still 2D. It's two-dimensional, right? So we want to make sure that we take the time to understand our viewpoint and our perspective, where we're sitting and where our eyes can see the object really matters, okay? So let's look back at our trees and eyes. All right, so these trees are not realistic trees. My bad. Let me turn the light on there so you can actually see it there. This tree is a little bit more realistic, but let me show you what you can do. To make a realistic tree, all you need to do is draw the trunk, and it gets thinner at the top and it gets thicker at the bottom. And this is more realistic than those symbol trees. You can just start scribbling. And I'm just making little scribbles. Nature is the most messy, imperfect thing on this planet. It has mud. It has bugs. It has all sorts of snakes and crawly, creepy rodents. It has dirt. It has rain, snow, all these things that are just ridiculously imperfect. And it's the most perfect thing in the world. Nature is perfectly imperfect. If you're a perfectionist and you're in this course, I'm going to warn you right now, it's not going to be easy. I'm going to challenge you to make mistakes fast and to really try your best to move forward quickly. That tree right there is more realistic than the cookie cutter tree. And all I did was scribble. Like, honestly, that's all you just saw. All I did was scribble. Just scribble. You can never find perfection until you're realizing that perfection is found only with imperfection. It's the quintessential pairing. You know, a lot of my students, I challenge them always to challenge me. I love being challenged. And I always say, you know, when you choose to do hard things, life gets easy. When you choose to do easy things, life gets hard. And that's the truth. And so challenging yourself is really hard to do. But man, it makes life so much more exciting and enjoyable. And you move forward, and progress equals happiness. So, you know, it's important to be able to do that. It's messy. And if you want to be an artist, you got to make the mess. You got to work through it. That's where the beauty is found. So, all right, the next aspect of this is, now that you understand your brain is lying to you 24/7, we want to make sure that you learn how to see properly. Most people that say I can't draw just don't know how to see. If they learned how to see, they could draw. So here is an image brought to you by Eric Arnold Photography. He is one of the most well-known Volkswagen photographers in the West, if not the entire nation. Check him out. Facebook, Eric Arnold Photo, ericarnoldphotography.com. He's got some really cool stuff. So I'd recommend checking him out. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that main lesson that changed everything for me. It was my last class in college, right before I graduated with my second bachelor's degree. And my professor came up, and I had been drawing. We were doing figure drawing. I drew the whole figure, and it got down to the chair, and basically I had drawn the whole figure. And anyway, I'd drawn the whole figure, and the chair was sitting there behind and underneath. You know, it had an arm on it. It went back into space underneath this leg, and it reclined back like this. So anyway, I had drawn the whole thing, and it was the very end of the class, and I was just absent-mindedly just throwing on the legs. And I threw the legs onto the chair. Let me scoot that up for you. Threw the legs onto the chair, and it looked great to me. And my professor came around and said, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "What do you mean, what am I doing? I'm done." And he's like, "Do you see those legs?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "What time is it from the front leg to the back leg?" or the right leg to the back leg. What time is it? What? What time is it? What I had done is I drew my cup and I put the flat bottom on there. See how all the legs are going flat? So what he did was he took out his protractor, and we all know what a protractor is, right? Protractor is the half circle mathematical tool that allows us to check our angles, right? So this is a 0 angle, a 90-degree angle. And he took out his protractor and he walked up to the table where they're sitting, and he went and put it down, and he goes, okay, all right. So from this left leg to the back leg, and he went like this, and he marked it onto the protractor. He walked back to my paper, and he's like, there it is. All right, so how many degrees is that? And it was 43.266 repeating degrees. So I took that, and I took the protractor onto the bottom of my paper here, and I measured it up. I got the exact angle. So that's where this back leg would end, was way back up there, right? And then he said, well, what is it from there to there? So I took my protractor. No, you're listening to this. I can't believe you're falling for this. I know you are. You're totally falling for this. There's no protractor. This isn't math class. Give me a break. This is art. 0.266 degrees repeating. Hopefully you were smart enough to catch that is just hogwash. Ridiculous. That's not how it was. How it was I was able to learn something from him that I had never heard before. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how the chair actually worked. Okay. The chair, go back this way. So all I'm going to do is draw the back of the chair, the seat of the chair, the arm of the chair, the other arm of the chair, and then the leg of the chair goes down here, and this leg would then be down here, this leg would go down here, and this leg would go down here, and if we did a box there, that's how it would connect. So here's you don't really see it, do you? I don't blame you. This is it right here. The back of the chair, the arm of the chair connects there, the back of the seat of the chair, the other arm of the chair, round it out for effect there. And the legs kind of did one of these bendy things, and they were kind of sharp. And this leg kind of bent out a little bit, and that leg bent out. Can you see the chair? So he's asking me, what he was asking me was what time it is from here to there. And I didn't understand what he was asking. Well, probably neither do you. Let me show you. So this right here is a clock face. Notice how it only has the top numbers because we don't need the bottom ones. But if you don't understand how to read a clock, I'm about to teach you. Okay? So on the screen, there's a picture of a clock. I have this floating clock face that can float around in my mind anywhere I want it to go. And I want to find out what time it is. So there's 3 different hands on the clock, but we only need one hand. We only need one. And that single hand is the short, stubby, fat guy. Okay? And he's going to be represented by this colored pencil, even though he's kind of long for this clock. But let's pretend he's the short. It's the hour hand. The second hand we don't need. The minute hand we don't need. This slow hour hand is what we need. So we put the center of the clock where we want to start the measurement. And we make sure it's completely straight up and down. Then we imagine the clock hand pointing to the other one. Now what happens here is halfway between the numbers, that would be 1:30. So if it's past that, it's obviously, so this one is almost to 2 because 2 is here. And so that line would be 150, okay? So this angle right here is a 150 angle. And the reason that we think about it that way is because we can easily remember the clock face and the hour hand as it travels. If it gets halfway between 1 and 2, or 12 and 1, that's when you know it's 12:30. It's because it's halfway to 1, not quite there. So let's look at the time over here when we move the clock. And this time, let's make sure we put the marks on here so we know exactly where the hour is. Okay. So when we look at this one, if we said that this one was a 10 o'clock angle, that is pretty accurate. Okay? Not bad. Then we could easily take that and this leg, then we'd go up to this leg, and where does it need to stop? It needs to stop at 10 o'clock. So we need to stop right there. Okay? And this angle that we just made matches this angle. And that's how you can make sure that you're not drawing flat footed chairs. So let's go ahead and use this newfound knowledge that you just learned, and we'll create ourselves a beautiful picture of a VW bus. Okay? So here's our clock face. And it moves around. And I really want you to imagine that every time you have it, wherever you look, if I'm looking up, it's moving up, it's staying. Wherever I'm looking, it's doing that. And that's floating around in your mind. Okay? Floating around in your mind. All right. So let's go ahead and do this. And first of all, we're going to select our parameters for our Volkswagen bus. And so I'm actually going to draw it right here. And how did I decide how to fit that? Well, I imagine myself having a perfect square, which if it's this tall, if it's that tall, then that's how wide the square can be. So this would be where the square is. This is the basic shapes lesson, by the way. And then if I take that same measurement and go again, that's how it is. So if these are two perfect squares, then I know I did it right. And it needs to be extended there and actually out to there. So not quite the right measurement. And that brings us to another mantra of mine. It's called FAIL, which is a focused attempt in learning. Focused attempt in learning. So I made a mistake. Did I beat myself up? No. This is a rough draft anyway, so we can do this all rough and crazy and fast, because you're supposed to fail fast, fail forward, fail often. So make sure you keep that in mind. So what we want to do is we're going to take this, and the first thing is we need to figure out where this line comes into play. And from our measurement that we made, the first box ends right here, which if that's the case, then we cut that into thirds. So this is the first box ending here, and then we're going to cut this part into thirds. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow us to see that the first third right here is where this line is. Now notice 12 o'clock, if we put this on there, there's multiple angles because it curves, has a curve to it. So it goes right here, the first angle, and the second angle is a little bit further. Okay, so how am I going to get that over there? I'm going to do 1205. Okay, so 1205, and then it's going to be 1210. So that's this angle and this angle. And it goes pretty far up on that angle to the roof line, which is right about here. Okay. Now, one thing I always say is don't draw what you're drawing until the very end. I haven't drawn a bus. All I've drawn is a space to put it in and a couple angles. So basic shapes and angles, but this is the angle lesson, so we're going to focus on angles. Now you'll notice that I didn't measure to the bottom of the wheels, I just measured the body. So the wheels are actually going to be located underneath here, right? So the next thing I want to do is find the angle that the front of the bus has, right? So let's pretend that we have our time here. So it goes up almost at 12 and this is I'm going to draw a line straight, like this is 3 o'clock. This bumper is at 3 o'clock. So 3 o'clock, and then from this edge goes up 12 o'clock. Then I'm just going to put a scribble there to remind myself there's a headlight. But then it's going to go back up at, I would say, 12:30. Would you agree? Let's check it out. So there's the angle. It's a little bit, well, it's pretty dang close to 12:30. This right here would be 1. So that's pretty dang close to 12:30. So if you're a little bit off, it's not a big deal. This isn't about perfection. It's about accuracy at a higher level. All right, so this right here is actually slightly up. So it's a little bit before 3 is this angle, okay? So it's a little bit before 3, this angle right here. So it actually goes slightly up, a little bit before 3, and then it actually starts to come down a little bit as it comes across here. All right, so this time, what time is this? Let's find out. And since it goes below the 3, you actually go over to the 9. So it's just after 9 or just after 3. So we just put that there and get that angle. And let's see, this one is the same angle. And then this goes across the top. What time is this? Just about 1 o'clock. Just after 1 o'clock. Okay. All right. So there, then let's see, this one has this angle. So it's going to be what time? I'd say 11:30 and then 11:45. And this angle here would be about 11. And then it kind of, this angle here goes up and then over. So it would be 12:30. This one would be 2 o'clock. And then it rolls, and you can kind of just connect those two together. Okay. Now, this is the same angle as the angle above, and it gets bigger as it gets here. But this angle right here, what time is that? We're not using any curves, only straight lines. So we have to make that into a single straight line. And that's going to be 2:15. Okay. And then it's going to curve even more down to 1:45. Right? 1:45. Then it's going to curve down again to 1. And then it's going to be sent back up the other way at what time? And you'll notice that this is straight, but then it kind of curves at the bottom, curves out, so it's a little bit sharper. So that'd be 11:30 into 11:45, and then you can just round out right there above the bumper. Now, I have not drawn a bus at all yet. Still, I haven't done any bus drawing, just angles. That's all I've done. So let's figure out this one right here. It's centered right here, and it goes back at what time? What time do you think it is? 12:45? Good job. Yeah, so 12:45. And this one goes there, it stops there. And I'm still just drawing straight lines. I don't care about drawing a bus. The more you tell your brain that you're not drawing what you're drawing, the more accurate your drawing will become. Because your brain wants to draw a bus, and it will just go like this. And if you're really good, you might actually draw the front of the bus. But if you'll notice, this window is almost half the size of this window because it's turned away from you. But your brain made it so both windows were the same. Volkswagen. Now, some of you may actually have this as your drawing. And, you know, good job. You failed. And that's so cool. It really is. The more failure you have in your life, the more bricks you've created to build upon to make success. You have to dig into the ground to pour a foundation. Otherwise, your building won't stand. So if you feel like you're terrible and horrible, all you're doing is letting your iceberg form underneath the water. And 90% of the iceberg is underneath where nobody sees it, where all the failure and the terrible stuff and all the hardships and the struggles. But then you build a big enough iceberg, the stuff that's above the water, your successes will be a bright glowing thing, big enough to sink a Titanic. So we want to keep on keeping on, as Mel Milton would always say. So anyway, so now we're going to look at these angles here. Angle, 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 angle. Notice how I didn't draw a circle. And I also noticed that this part of the bus is lower than the bumper. Okay, and then it angles back, and it angles up, angles back, angles down and around, and this comes around. There's a bumper there. And then I'm going to look at this negative space right here, and I'm not going to draw a tire. I'm still not drawing a bus. I just drew a negative shape right there, that triangle. Then I'm going to look at this, and there's some negative space in here. And I'd curve that on accident, my bad. It's supposed to be straight lines. Straight lines. Just keep them straight, people. So even this, I'm going to oversimplify and make into stop sign shape. This one and this one. All right, so now the mirror is going to be sitting right here. So even the circles are not circles. This tire lines up with the front, but it's a little bit in front, and it comes down, goes back, and then it lines up with this light here. Notice how I used these as anchor points to make it so I could see better. The front of the tire you can see is like this, and it goes underneath, and inside the tire is in here, and it connects to the brake drums and whatever else in here. Let's draw this one real quick. Boom. What am I teaching you? I'm teaching you that angles, let's see, this we don't want to pull the flat chair, so it actually comes out at this angle. What time is this angle to the bottom of this thing? It's just after 9. See how I was putting the tire too high? It happens even now. My brain wants to lie to me and say, I know what to do. I know how that looks. I know how that's supposed to be. And then this, I can see that this comes out here and connects down here and in here. And then this tire back here, and so on. I'm going to finish the front of the bus here. And I'm just using the clock method. I'm just putting in these angles the way I see them. All right, so there we have a pretty good example of how I didn't draw a bus. I just drew straight lines. And what happened? I can see there's a bus there now. So after my rough draft is over, if I was an inker, I could easily go in and ink all the parts that need to be inked that are kept, and the rest of the lines will be erased. And it looks really clean and finished and polished once you, and how easy it is to draw a circle when you have a straight line around it. Like, look at this curvature. It's so easy to curve this now and build exactly what it looks like because I'm utilizing the lines that are there. My brain, it makes it easier for my brain to see the parts that I want to keep and the parts that I don't. And if I make a mistake, it's not that big a deal. You just kind of clean it up and keep going, right? Anyway, you get the idea. So I'm going to say it again. Do not draw what you're drawing until the very end. when you're actually ready to do the detail work. Okay, and all of a sudden you have a bus. Congratulations. Now, if you want to continue drawing the rest of this bus, you can pause the video, and I'll just put this right here in the middle, and I'll zoom in and get it so that you can draw it. Thank you for drawing along with me. Let's recap. Number one, your brain lies to you. It wants to do simple symbols like stick figures and cookie cutter trees or broccoli trees. Number two, the only way you can not have that happen where your brain's lying to you and you end up having your chair be flat or your cup be flat is by breaking up whatever you're drawing into small incremental steps, small pieces, each individual angle, and using the clock method, you'll be able to do that accurately without having to pull out measuring tools, yardsticks, whatever, protractors, compasses, even to draw circles. So, and lastly, remember that no matter what you're trying to do, this principle qualifies. It's an important thing to understand that you need to break things up into small, digestible pieces and focus on each individual step and each individual angle as you move forward so that you can accurately put things where they go. And this takes practice. I had already spent 25 years drawing before I learned this principle. So I'd already put in the practice. So once I understood how the algorithm worked, how the behind the scenes and why it worked, it blew my mind. I actually was pissed. I was mad because nobody had taught me this until I was, 8 years into college. So I ended up stopped being mad because I was then super happy that I had made that mistake. If I hadn't made that mistake with the chair, I would never have learned this simple way to explain how to see angles. That mistake, that failure, was one of the greatest things that's ever happened. And that's what failure is. Like, it doesn't, so fear and failure don't exist. They don't exist. They're in your head. FAIL stands for focused attempt in learning. And if you learn, you never fail. So failure doesn't actually exist until you quit. Don't quit. Stay with me. There's more of this to come. By the end of this program, by the end of the time together, you're going to be someone who will be able to teach others how to draw, because of the way how the algorithm works, the way that your mind works. You will be able to explain it in simple terms, just like I did with these angles. Thank you for being here. I look forward to teaching you more on the next lesson.